the thing that I find particularly interesting when it comes, we talk about the hierarchies of privilege. The number one, the apex for a hierarchy of privilege seems to be old white men, which to me seems incredibly ageist because a lot of old people in this country, quite frankly, are struggling economically, financially. You know, they're barely able to get through the month.
Yeah, but that, you know, like we were saying earlier about sort of facts and reality isn't really what these forms of politics are all about. And, you know, it's ideological. And I think an interesting aspect with older people is that they appear as being regressive and backward. And for example, I mean, you could say there is some reason for saying that, you know, for example, that racist, maybe sexist attitudes in a certain sense are more common amongst, you know, older people of previous generations. But that's more of an excuse, I think, to sort of bash them. But I think this is where progressive, you know, the progressive element of politics comes in, because progressive politics is really about things improving over time, getting better over time, and it's a faith that that's happening. So in that sense, people who are around, you know, in previous times are naturally sort of worse and more regressive than, you know, young people, for example. So you find sort of progressive politicians, they tend to exalt the younger and then dismiss the older, which, I mean, I agree with you. I think that's a really bad way of, you know, addressing, especially from the left, solidarity in society, you know, of dismissing people who have been on this earth for a lot longer than we have a lot more experience, and just dismissing them as if they had nothing valuable to offer. I think that's a terrible approach.
See, man, I think there should be like a cut-off point for like white privilege. Once you get to like 70, yeah. you've got some kind of wasting disease that takes away your privileges, and you just that's what happens.
It's called osteoporosis.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Thank you for taking that joke into a very, very dark place.
That's what I do, man. But it's interesting because when people criticise Trump, a number of times, what I saw from people was like, "What do you expect? He's an old white man." And it was just like, of all the things, like, I don't agree with Trump.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do. Brilliant. Yeah, the moment when he said, my mum's Venezuelan, that Venezuelans can't go into America, I fully agreed with it. But it just seems such a bizarre thing to accuse somebody of. You know, it's saying he's an old white male, therefore he has these views.
It comes back to it's just so easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, you know, this, again, what I'm talking about with sort of system of diversity, it's like, you can say that. Say if you said that on Twitter, you know, you see people saying that on Twitter, they'll get thousands of retweets.
Shit, I need to do that.
Yeah, that's what you need to do, mate. That's the only way your comedy career is going to take off, mate.
Yeah. If you want to be popular, you know, you can do that. You just make these kind of lazy remarks, and, you know, that kind of gets you a lot of approval. And, you know, it's an effective form of politics. You know, it's so easy. We can all grab hold of it and sort of do it.
There you go, guys. If you want to be a social media influencer, you know what to do.
Yeah.
You know where to take it. He got fat shamed to hell as well, Trump, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
It's perfectly respectable to fat shame Donald Trump.
It is. Although he does fat shame other people. So,
yeah.
So, I mean, you could say, I mean, it's a taste of his own medicine. But he has got a fat ass, to be honest.
How do you know?
I've seen it. I've seen pictures of it.
Have you?
Yeah.
So you've looked at it? Have you?
Yeah.
Studied that rump?
Oh. Yeah, I have.
Well, nice to know what kind of porn you watch. Anyway, you talk about a couple of things which I think are really important, and let's get to both of them before we ask our very final question. First of all, you talk about the false power of prediction. People talking about how this is what's going to happen, and then this is what's going to happen. If we don't do that, then this is going to happen, and eventually none of it happens. And we all keep going as if those predictions hadn't been made, you know, and that person didn't lose any credibility. We just keep predicting stuff that never happens, and then just carry on as if everything is the same. So talk to us about that bit.
Well, I think it comes down to, you know, the authority that appears from knowledge, and, you know, obviously there's a good reason for that, you know, but obviously it depends on if the knowledge is actually real or not. Now, the thing with predictions is, you know, by definition, the truth is not verified. You know, you can't tell what's going to happen before it. But predictions appear as if they are truthful, especially if they come from someone, who is authoritative, who works for, say, the Bank of England, a big organisation, big international organisation, anyone who produces reports. So basically anyone who's, sort of organised, and they can produce something which appears authoritative, and you can make predictions, and that appears as a form of knowledge. But it's obviously it's obviously sort of like I said before, you can't verify either way. So that predictions kind of appear in the public sphere as authoritative, and there's no way to demonstrate that until whatever they predicted either happens or doesn't. And of course, by the time that happens, the whole circus has moved on. So you can predict another thing. And
with the same level of authority.
Yeah, as long as you have the position and the ability to, contact the media and the authority and the receptivity from the media to get your stuff out there, you can keep on, replaying it, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, some people are obviously going to pick you up on it, but most people out there are not really paying attention.
Do you realise what you've just done is given a blueprint to how to become a Guardian journalist?
I couldn't possibly.
And then just at the end, fuck old people.
Yeah.
And then that's it. You're there. But I mean, it's interesting, because it does seem to be that you make these grandiose predictions, and everybody discusses it, and then next week we go on to something else. And really, isn't the only point of a prediction so that you can end it with 4 words? I told you so. I mean, that's essentially it, isn't it? And then people go back to it and then go, look how I was right.
Well, I mean, that would be the approach which follows, the disciplines of theory and knowledge and checking and falsifying and then, you looking to revise your theories and all the rest of it. But politics isn't like that. It's more about authority and getting your thing out there.
Yeah, so it's not I told you so, it's about what you're telling people is going to happen.
Yeah.
And then that allows you to control what happens in the present, right?
Yes.
It's about shaping the message today so that different decisions get made because you predicted something.
Precisely. Yeah.
Exactly. Another final point I wanted to ask you about as well is you talk about, we're very big fans of Dave Rubin and his show, and he talks a lot about the power of good ideas over bad ideas, which is something that I share as well. I think ideas are very important. Discussing them is very important, which is one of the reasons we do the show. But one of the things you mention in the book, and you make quite clear, is that this ideology that we're talking about, the ideology of social justice, of diversity and whatever, it will not be defeated through ideas because they're not fighting that cultural war through ideas. They're fighting it through institutions, which they've seized control over, right? So what is the answer, Ben? You've got about 30 seconds to come up with a blueprint for how we solve this crisis of Western civilization. Go.
I don't think there isn't a silver bullet.
I was joking. I know there's no silver bullet.
We're fucked. fucked, I tell you.
But I think it's basically about all of us who are concerned and give a shit that we do get active and we organise and we contact each other and we form institutions. And to do that, you need money and you need people prepared to put in hard work. And this takes time. I mean, it's, like I say with the book, sort of exploring this idea of a system of diversity. I didn't use that word by mistake. It's it's systemic in a sense, but you can break out of it, but you're taking a risk when you do. Everyone is taking a risk, and to make any sort of politics which is withdrawing away from that or criticising that, while preserving the elements which are good, hopefully, has got to be organised and rigorous and well financed. So I mean, this isn't easy. We don't do it just by sitting and pontificating,
like we do here.
Yeah,
like I'm doing.
Yeah, like we're doing. Well.